This is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
Right now it's 6 on Good Morning Indiana. Soon, census takers will be knocking at your door. We're live with why the report is important and how you can get a job helping out.
Let's get this trial started, shall we?
The Senate impeachment trial continues today. This morning, we're breaking down why the trial's initial plans are already being thrown out.
A busy downtown street will close this morning. Working for you, we're breaking down the reason behind the closure and how it will impact your commute.
And who doesn't love a good bargain? We're looking at some of the most overpriced items people continue to buy so you don't waste your money.
6 o'clock here on your Wednesday morning, January the 22nd. Thanks so much for joining us.
On this Wednesday, we're keeping an eye on what's happening in Washington with the impeachment. But ladies, who would have thought that when it gets above like 32, it's like summertime in Indiana?
Yeah, we're like, we can deal with this. This is kind of normal winter weather. We want to check in with Todd, who says today's pretty seasonable, right?
Yeah, you know, this morning, this is where we should be, right around 20 degrees for our overnight low. And later on this afternoon, we are going to be up around 37 degrees, which is seasonable for this time of year. We were just so spoiled at the beginning of the month. So temperatures range from 14 to 22 this morning. Wind chills are right around 10, so that's why you just definitely need to bundle up. But the good news is the roadways, they are dry this morning all across central Indiana. We just have increasing clouds taking place, and it's not out of the question. Some of you see a little bit of sunshine here initially this morning before the clouds really start to thicken up. However, you do not have to worry about any precipitation heading our way. There's a lot of it off to our west where it's going to be a rough go of it with a lot of winter weather and winter storm warnings that are in place, but that doesn't make much progress off towards the east throughout the day today. So it's completely dry from start to finish on this Wednesday. The temperatures, and thankfully they warm fairly quickly. So while we're at 18 degrees still at 8 a.m., by the time we get to the noon hour, already up to 30 degrees. We'll continue to warm from that point. Tomorrow is when we do bring rain into the forecast. More on that coming up in just a few minutes. But right now at 6:02, it looks like something's happening on the highway. So for an update, we go to Lauren.
That's right, Todd. This is down on the south side here. You're looking at a crash cleanup in the left lane of northbound I-65 near County Line Road. Traffic, as you can see behind this crash, starting to back up. This is from Greenwood heading into the Indianapolis area. So keep this in mind. You can see that things are still moving in the right lanes and center lane, but we'll monitor this and let you know if you need to reroute. Maybe take Emerson as a detour through here up to Southport Road, or you could take US 31, even State Road 135. So we'll continue to keep our eyes on this throughout the morning. Just keep this in mind if you're coming in from Johnson County or areas to the south. Taking a look right now at our Traffic Now map, let's travel over to the west side and plan out your commute. Heading eastbound on I-74 this morning in the Brownsburg area to the west side. It's a 7-minute drive, no delays from State Road 267 to the I-465 ramp system.
The time now is 6:03, and now to the historic impeachment trial in the nation's capital, where the House prosecution team will begin making their case against the president today.
As ABC's Elizabeth Herr reports, the first full day of the trial dragged on for more than 12 hours, with Senate Republicans and Democrats clashing over the rules of the trial.
The impeachment trial of President Trump resuming today with opening statements. This following a marathon session yesterday that stretched well past midnight.
And that this order
with the ground rules approved and some senators even seen rushing out of the building. The trial kicked off with a fierce debate over the rules.
But President Trump does not want you to hear from Ambassador Bolton. And the reason has nothing to do with executive privilege or this other nonsense.
The only one who should be embarrassed, Mr. Nadler, is you.
This clash even prompting a rare moment. Chief Justice John Roberts admonishing both sides.
I think it is appropriate at this point for me to admonish both the House managers and the President's counsel in equal terms to remember that they are addressing the world's greatest deliberative body.
Democrats spent most of the day arguing without additional witnesses or documents. The trial amounts to a cover-up. But President Trump's lawyers fired back, alleging House Democrats rushed to impeach without fighting for witnesses in court. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell did make some changes to his proposed rules, now giving 3 days of opening statements and allowing the existing evidence. But Democrats kept fighting.
The House calls John Bolton. The House calls Mick Mulvaney. The question is, will you let us?
In all, Democrats offered 11 amendments to the rules, but in the end, all were voted down almost entirely along party lines. Elizabeth Herr, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
Elizabeth, thank you. Republican Senator Mike Braun reacted to the session on Twitter, saying it remains clear House Democrats have failed to prove President Trump broke any laws or took any actions that warrant his removal from office. Schiff and Schumer want a never-ending trial as the next chapter in their failed 3-year effort to get rid of him. Reaction also from Democratic Congressman Andre Carson. He retweeted this from California Congresswoman Jackie Speier, who pointed out a lie from President Trump's attorney Jay Sekulow. Sekulow claimed Republicans were not allowed in the secure room where classified information related to the impeachment was reviewed by members of the House. That is not true. Representative Carson echoed Speier's tweet, saying that many Republicans chose not to review that evidence. The trial will continue with opening statements this afternoon at 1 p.m.
The time now is 6:06. It was our founding fathers who decided that every 10 years we need an accurate representation of what our country looks like. So this year, the United States Census Bureau will take their measurements. Our Kelsey Anderson is joining us live this morning with why officials say this is so important that you answer their questions. Kelsey, good morning.
Hey, good morning. So this questionnaire is so important because the census says if they don't know about your community, they can't help your community. They can't give them funding and get them what they need. So this year, the U.S. Census Bureau is hoping to have an even more accurate count than years prior, because this year they plan on using the internet as a way for people to self-respond. You can also fill out a paper questionnaire or respond over the phone. If you don't respond in any of those ways, that's when someone will come out to your door and ask you those questions in person. Regional Director Kathy Lacey with the U.S. Census Bureau says the process doesn't take long.
We're talking 9 questions. Basically, we're asking, what does your household look like? Who's living there, and basic demographics about the household.
She says with the information they gather from the census, they are able to best decide where $675 billion in federal funding goes. Now, the U.S. Census Bureau is hiring Hoosiers for their Indianapolis office. They need to hire 3,000 people. The positions include census takers and office personnel. The pay ranges from $22.50 to $25 an hour. For more information on how you can apply, visit hiringhoosiers.com. Reporting live, Kelsey Anderson, RTV6.
The time now is 6:07. We've been in this neighborhood behind me so many times. RTV6 has been reporting on the I-70 mobile home park since late August. Nearly 6 months later, a state lawmaker is working to make sure that what happened there never happens again. State Representative Justin Moed's bill would require mobile home parks to give residents a 120-day notice of the park's closure. That's double the amount of time given to those I-70 mobile home park residents. The bill would also require that owners to notify residents anytime the property is listed for sale.
This is unlike an apartment where you just got to pack up some things and move out. This is an actual structure, and oftentimes it might be in the condition that it either needs to be repaired or it can't be moved.
Under current state law, there is no notice requirement for mobile home parks. The bill has not yet been assigned to a committee. We'll keep you posted on this situation.
One of the city's top employers just passed over the Hoosier State to build a new $470 million manufacturing plant. Instead, Eli Lilly will build the new plant in Durham, North Carolina. The company tells RTV6 the North Carolina city fit the criteria they were looking for, like cost operations, quality of life, and the ability to attract and retain a skilled workforce. Indiana isn't getting left high and dry, however, by the company. In November, Lilly announced an investment of $400 million in its Indy manufacturing facilities, creating nearly 100 new highly skilled jobs. A Sullivan County power plant will be stopping production. Hoosier Energy expects to retire its coal-fired Merom plant in 2023. The company plans to transition to more diverse generating platforms, including wind, natural gas, and solar. The closure will impact nearly 200 workers. Hoosier Energy officials say they will work with employees during the transition period to explore retraining or reassignment options.
At 6:09, new this morning down in Clark County, a mom is facing child neglect charges after a little boy was found wandering on the side of a highway. Police say that the woman driving a car on US 31 near Henryville found a boy wearing nothing but a diaper and a short sleeve shirt. The woman called 911, put that little boy in her car and wrapped him in a sweatshirt. Police say they went to the boy's home and found his mom, Brittany Robertson, passed out, drunk, and surrounded with vomit. This morning, Robertson is in jail and ordered not to have contact with her son.
The time now is 6:10. Lane restrictions could have a big impact on your morning drive. You see, Citizens Energy Group says it has closed 3 lanes of Pennsylvania between New York and Washington as part of that big sewer rehabilitation project. Citizens says prepare for traffic congestion for the next 2 days, especially during the afternoon rush hour. The lanes are expected to be back open by tomorrow evening. And a construction project on the city's east side will continue through the summer. RTV6 learning of the new timeline for railroad and bridge repairs. This at near 38th and Arlington. That project was originally scheduled to wrap up by last November, but the weather and lack of workers are delaying the project. The $4.5 million project is a partnership between DPW and INDOT.
A second person has died after a vehicle drove into a pond on the north side of Indianapolis. The Marion County Coroner's Office says 24-year-old Javier Averos passed away. The man died shortly after the accident Friday night. Investigators say the victim's SUV jumped a curb and went into the water on 86th Street across from Brebeuf High School. They believe weather played a role in the crash since the road was impacted when the crash happened.
The time right now is 6:11. The University of Evansville has fired the head coach of the men's basketball team following a sexual misconduct investigation. School officials put Walter McCarty on administrative leave last month after receiving reports of alleged sexual misconduct and Title IX violations. In a letter, the university president says an external investigation uncovered that McCarty violated his terms of his contract. McCarty became a national figure in November after the Purple Aces stunned top-ranked Kentucky.
Here's something you never want to see, a brawl on the basketball court. New at 6:16, we're looking at the moments before that situation that got all but 5 players from each team ejected. More on that coming up. But first, let's head over to the Weather Center with our very own Todd Clausen. Good morning, TK.
Raphael, good morning to you. Good morning, everybody. It's a dry day for us throughout the day today, and take advantage of that because precipitation chances return starting tomorrow. Tomorrow they don't arrive till the evening hours, but then they're with us throughout much of the day on Friday and Saturday. We'll talk all about that coming up in your Storm Team 6 forecast. The time now is 6:12. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Flooring, floors to your home, that too.
Welcome back to Good Morning Indiana. The time now is 6:15. Let's take a look at what's expected to make headlines later today. Opening statements scheduled today in the Harvey Weinstein New York City rape trial. The 67-year-old faces a possible life sentence if convicted. He has denied any wrongdoing. A jury of 7 men and 5 women was picked just last week. This trial expected to take at least 6 weeks. You can see gavel-to-gavel coverage on CourtTV.com. And many will be watching to see how Boeing will perform today on Wall Street. You see, the plane manufacturer halted stock trading yesterday when their shares fell by almost 6%. The drop came after Boeing said it does not expect federal regulators to approve its changes to the grounded 737 MAX until this summer.
This week, we could learn more about some changes to the temporary visa program. The Trump administration is hoping to stop what's known as birth tourism. That's when a woman goes to a certain country to give birth so her child will get citizenship there. The U.S. is one of just 35 countries with this birthright rule. The State Department says an executive order amending the visa process could be enough to clamp down on what it sees as abuse.
It is 6:16. A last-second block leads to an all-out brawl on the basketball court in Lawrence, Kansas. The Kansas Jayhawks hosting in-state rival Kansas State. Silvio De Sousa has the ball stolen from him while dribbling out the clock. The Jayhawk chases down Jawan Gordon and then taunts him as the clock winds down. This brawl then spills out over the floor, adding to to the chaos, the teams actually had to be called back to the court with 1/10 of a second left on the clock. But only 5 players from each team could return because the others, they'd been ejected from that game. Crazy video there.
Yeah, something you never want to see, and obviously not good sportsmanship. And so hopefully this is no matter what happened, you just don't want to see this kind of stuff on the court. It just kind of makes it hard to watch. So
yes,
that's a shame.
Something we don't want to see in the forecast: snow, lots of rain, and thankfully, Todd, you're saying it's dry today.
Dry today. That changes tomorrow, but for the most part, it's going to be rain when it heads our way. If you're a snow lover, it's been a rough month for us here. We've only had officially a trace of snow, and it's one of the least snowiest Januaries on record for the city of Indianapolis. And there's not a lot of snow in our foreseeable future. Unfortunately, if you do like snow, if you don't like snow, you probably enjoyed this month. This morning, though, 19 degrees. It is cold out there. The winds are out of the southeast at 6 miles per hour. Not very strong, but that southeasterly component, that is going to help to warm our temperatures back to seasonable levels later on this afternoon. The past 3 days, we didn't even see our high temperature get above the freezing mark, nonetheless above normal. 19 in Crawfordsville as well as Greencastle right now. In fact, 19 is a very common number. Bloomington over to Greenfield as well. A little colder in Richmond at 14. In Bedford, you're down to 16 degrees now this morning. You factor in a little bit of wind, and it feels like it's 11 in Indy. 10 is what it feels like up in the Peru area. So you need all the warm weather clothes that you have here this morning, especially if the kids are going to be waiting out at the bus stop for a little while here this morning. Make sure they have the hat and the gloves and that heavier coat on. The good news is we do warm fairly quickly later on this afternoon, up to about 36 degrees. That is seasonable. You will notice the clouds increase throughout the day today, but we are dry. That is the good news. The best chance of some sunshine will be this morning. Otherwise, these clouds are going to continue to increase. This rain and snow off to our west. You do not have to worry about that today. Tomorrow, it'll make its way into our area, but as it arrives here, it is going to be all rain. So that is the good news, and most of the day is going to be dry, at least throughout the daylight hours. Can't rule out the chance of maybe a stray shower or two as we work our way into the evening drive, but it's really not until after we get past the evening commute that the rain starts to make its way into the area. So 40s tomorrow for highs, mid to upper 30s still in the evening hours, and that is a key for the temperature to be above freezing because here comes the rain. It arrives from south to north tomorrow. 7 p.m. it's raining from Indianapolis to the south, and it spreads to the north. And it's during the overnight hours when the temperatures start to drop off that we'll have to keep an eye on. Not out of the question that there could be a little bit of a wintry mix, I think, in northern locations as we work our way into the Friday morning commute. But for most of us, this looks like it's going to be a rain event. And then Friday's just not a great day for us. It's just going to be raining off and on throughout the entire day. It's a day you'll definitely want to have the umbrella handy. On the backside of this system Saturday when it starts to pull out, once again, there could be a little bit of a wintry mix, but not expecting any accumulation. So you may see a few flakes. Don't be shocked, but we're not expecting accumulating snow with this system once again. And then next week, temperatures not bad. We're in the 40s to near 50 degrees by Tuesday.
All right, Todd, thanks so much. I want you to take a good look at your screen right now. If you are a driver on the south side, maybe coming into downtown from Johnson County and areas south of there, this is a look at I-65 near County Line Road where we still have that crash cleanup underway in the left lane. This is slowing down traffic all the way back to Main Street in Greenwood, so about a 5-minute commute and delay if you're heading northbound at this hour. So just keep that in mind. I don't think you need to reroute as things are still moving past this crash scene, but tack on that 5 minutes to your commute. Let's take a look right now at our map, and I'll show you that slight delay here for Johnson County drivers. You can see the orange in the northbound lanes. Again, you'll have to shift over to the right, and just keep this in mind, downtown drivers for that Citizens Energy project we've been telling you about. Pennsylvania Street, 3 lanes blocked between New York and Washington Street.
The time now is 6:21, and scientists are raising concerns over how marijuana affects people with heart conditions. More than 2 million Americans with heart problems say they've used marijuana. While there's not enough research yet to answer the question, cardiologists do know that marijuana can interact with common heart medications. Now, they say liver enzyme the body uses to break down pot is also used to break down statins, which lower cholesterol and blood thinners. Scientists say because of this, it is key that patients tell their doctors if they use marijuana.
A California groom thought his best man was going to have to miss his wedding. New at 6:25, the last-second surprise that had the entire celebration in tears. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Let's take a live look right now on the south side.
Whoa.
Still monitoring this backup here. Those are the left lanes of northbound I-65. A view here at County Line Road. Traffic backing up past Main Street. Give yourself that extra time heading through Johnson County this morning.
Okay, so if you guys were to rob a house, you know, if you're a burglar, how quickly would you want to be in and out?
Well, first of all, that's not my first thought on a Wednesday morning, but...
Pretty quickly, I would say.
Yes, I would want to get out quickly.
Yeah. Well, that was not the case here. A woman in Oklahoma taking her sweet time, 12 hours to be exact, taking things from this home. The homeowner says the woman stole everything from jewelry to a vacuum cleaner. Look at her just
moving out,
helping herself. Police have not caught the crook yet, but they say they have plenty, and I would say about 12 hours worth of video evidence.
Thank goodness for doorbell. Look at that. Get doorbell, get ring, get something in your house.
A lot of work there.
Wow. Okay.
All right. Well, I want you to see this story. This is Steven and Lauren Merrick on their wedding day. This is in Fallbrook, California. Everything had come together for their dream day except for one thing. Steven's best friend and best man, AJ, found out that he was being deployed. Steven decided that he would not replace his best man, though, and he didn't have to, as you can see here. 2 days before AJ learned his deployment was getting pushed back, he kept this a secret until this special moment.
How wonderful.
Now, that's great.
Yeah.
So, Meredith, to answer your question, if I was going to do a robbery today, I would probably use this GM vehicle. GM Motors has some big plans for a new robo-taxi service.
So you had to have a getaway driver?
Yes. The Origin was unveiled last night in San Francisco. The ride-hailing service is still being developed, but GM says the Origin will strictly be used as a taxi and will not be sold to consumers. But that should be interesting to see. Maybe the future to see. Yeah, at the airport, seeing these vehicles just zipping on by. Hey, take me to downtown. RTV6, please.
Yep. And Todd, I would like to request that you take us to somewhere warmer this morning.
All right, where you want to go? We can't go to Florida.
Yeah, it's pretty cold there.
Aruba.
All right, we're going even further south.
Yeah,
all right, Aruba, I can guarantee.
We're going international.
All right. Well, let's go. Let's fire up the RTV6 jet. All right. Outside right now, we don't have one of those, by the way. Outside right now, we are in the teens in most locations. It's very, very cold. You'll need to bundle up. Temperatures will moderate fairly quickly, though, across the area. 30 degrees by time we get to the noon hour. And then as we continue throughout the day, eventually highs will top off right around 37 in the city. That puts us back above normal. 40 near Bloomington as well as Columbus. Upper 30s to the north with skies that are going to be mostly cloudy across the area by this afternoon, but we're dry. That changes tomorrow. More on that coming up in just a few minutes.
Todd, thanks. If you're like me, then you love to shop for a bargain. So why do we overpay so much for some things?
Yeah, working for you, our John Matarese shows the most overpriced things that people just continue to pay for so you don't waste your money.
Thanks to big box stores, dollar stores, and Amazon, prices of many items haven't gone up much in recent years. But some things have, and we're now paying ridiculous markups on them. You can buy a book on Amazon for just a few bucks, but then why do college textbooks cost hundreds of dollars each?
$400, $500 for a book.
A report by CheatSheet.com lists college textbooks with a 40% markup as one of the most ridiculously overpriced items we keep paying way too much for. Also on the list, name brand cosmetics, a 78% markup over generic. Airport food, a 200% markup over what you'd pay in the supermarket. Name brand printer ink, a 300% markup. Designer jeans, a 500% markup compared with basic jeans. And Beats by Dre headphones, which it calls $18 headphones for $200. For the dozen that stink file, the most ridiculously overpriced item of all, movie theater popcorn with a 1,000% markup. Doesn't that stink? The report says you're paying more than $5 for 49 cents worth of popcorn. In some of these cases, you can save a lot if you look for an off-brand that's as good as the name brand, and that way you don't waste your money. I'm John Matarese. Good morning, Indiana.
Now on Good Morning Indiana on this Wednesday morning, here's a look at your 6:30 news feed. A young man from Illinois charged in the murder of a teenager in Kokomo that happened earlier this month. Jeremiah Neal is accused of killing 16-year-old James Gray on January 2nd. A second suspect, who's 15 years old, has been charged with a robbery that police say was tied to that shooting.
A baby has died after police say she was exposed to meth from her mother's breast milk. Court documents say Ashley Rand's called 911 to say she rolled over onto her 2-month-old while she was sleeping. But an autopsy shows the infant died from meth intoxication. Rands is now charged with neglect of a dependent, resulting in death.
Hoosier moms in crisis will soon have more options on where they can leave infants safely. More safe haven baby boxes are being installed across our state. A box will be installed at the end of the month at the White River Township Fire Department headquarters in Greenwood in Johnson County. Boxes are also being delivered to Bloomington and Mooresville that will be installed in the coming weeks.
The director of the Department of Public Works says his office is getting ready for more potholes after that recent freeze and thaw cycle. Last week, the department received 986 repair requests and closed almost 600. And yesterday, 14 crews of 6 workers each were out making those repairs. Parker says that you can report potholes by calling the Mayor's Action Center. That number is 317-327-4622.
A big announcement at Butler University today. On Tuesday, current Butler mascot Trip tweeted this picture. You can see that on the board it says, well, we're showing you just video of Trip right now, but the board says coming soon, the Butler Blue debut January 22nd, 2020. There is a Twitter account for the new Butler Blue, also going to be known as Butler Blue 4, so we should get our first look at the school's future mascot later this morning, which we are so very excited for.
On a morning like this, we dream of the dog days of summer, right, Bud? Alas, it is winter and we just have to live with it. Okay, we're Hoosiers. Yeah. We're hardy, right, Todd? It's going to be okay.
Yeah, you know, when you look at the month as a whole, it's not been a bad month at all. We've hardly had any snow whatsoever. Right. And the first 16 days were pretty much above normal. So we're paying for it a little bit here these past few days. But today we get those temperatures back up to where they should be this time of year. The average high is 36 and we'll be very, very close to that. So what do you need to grab before you go? Obviously the cold weather gear, hats, gloves, the heavier jacket. The sunglasses may be needed for a few hours this morning, but I did not check them off as you grab that extra cup of coffee and get going on this Wednesday morning. Temperatures will be in the upper teens for most of us with increasing clouds, but it's a dry morning drive for you, and here are those clouds starting to make their way from west to east across the area, but there's a big chunk of clear skies here still across the area. Thankfully, the snow that stays off to our west, you don't have to worry about that for the day today. So one thing you'll notice, I think, this morning compared to the past few mornings is the temperature will warm pretty quickly, and that's due to more of a southerly wind that we have out there. The past few days, we really struggled to warm in the morning hours. We'll go from the teens where we are right now to 30 degrees by the noon hour. I know that's cold. I know it's still below freezing. It's just much better than where we were the past few days. In fact, yesterday only 31 degrees for the high temperature. Today we'll be close to that by the noon hour on our way up to a high of 37.
All right, Todd, thank you so much. We have live drive out monitoring your commute this morning. Shea Goodpaster in the driver's seat. This is a dash cam view as he's traveling northbound on I-65 near Worthsville Road. That's the farthest south exit there in Greenwood. As he gets closer to the Main Street exit, that's where we're starting to see delays due to a crash blocking the left lanes at the farther north exit, and that's County Line Road. So you'll have to scoot all the way over into the right lanes. Expect about 5-minute delays, and we checked in with state police. They tell us that they don't have any reports of injuries at this time with that crash, but someone was trapped inside their vehicle. Shea, as he was going southbound past that crash scene, tells us that it looks like at least one vehicle is up on a wrecker. So we'll continue to monitor that, but you can see we do have some slowdowns in Johnson County. We do have a traffic alert for you this morning. Downtown drivers, listen up. A lane restriction could have a big impact on your morning drive. Citizens Energy Group has closed 3 lanes of Pennsylvania Street between New York and Washington. It's all part of a sewer rehabilitation project. The agency says prepare for traffic congestion today and Thursday, especially during the afternoon rush. Lanes are expected to be back open by Thursday evening. Of course, we'll keep you updated. It is 6:33. The impeachment trial of President Trump gets underway in earnest just hours from now after that marathon session that ran into the early morning hours today.
Much of Tuesday was devoted to the rules that will be allowed, followed by the House impeachment managers, President Trump's attorneys, and the senators themselves. Raphael is taking a closer look at that rules fight right now, and already many arguments seem to be falling along political party lines.
And you can sense the White House and Democrats just going head to head. You could feel that tension through these hearings. Good morning, ladies. We can likely expect more of those party line reactions now as opening statements get underway this afternoon. But yesterday, House impeachment managers and the president's lawyers gave a preview of those arguments in the middle of that fight over the ground rules for the trial. CNN's Camelia Bernal tells us more about how the rules have already changed.
Let's get this trial started, shall we?
Before evidence and arguments against President Trump are laid out to the Senate, there's a battle raging on over the rules of the trial outlined by Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell.
We don't want to talk about the McConnell resolution and how patently unfair it is. We don't want to talk about how pardon the expression, ass backwards it is to have a trial and then ask for witnesses.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer introducing a series of amendments to change the rules, to subpoena a trove of documents from the Trump administration and key witnesses.
We've seen the House managers and Senate Democrats making redundant motions over and over and over again, the same motions that are being rejected.
So far, all have been killed off, one by one, in the GOP-held chamber.
How it could be that House Democrats think that it is the best use of time for this body to spend an entire day deciding simply the issue of when this body should decide about whether or not there should be witnesses and documents subpoenaed.
But Democrats say Republicans are bluffing on allowing them to call witnesses later on.
Their goal is get you to say no now, get you to have the trial, and then argue, make it go away.
That was Camelia Bernal reporting. Next on the agenda, the opening arguments. That will be 24 hours for both sides, divided over 3 days. And then there will be 16 hours of questions from the senators. Now, those questions will be written out and read aloud by Chief Justice John Roberts. And that's when senators will address the question of whether new witnesses will be allowed to testify, including those that were blocked by the White House from testifying before the House.
President Trump's attorneys are being criticized for some claims they made on the Senate floor during Tuesday's hearing that some say were not true. It included statements from President's White House counsel about hearings held in a private room where classified information is shared.
Not even Mr. Schiff's Republican colleagues were allowed into the SCIF. Information was selectively leaked out.
Our partners with PolitiFact published a piece on this claim outlining why it was false. The SCIF is a secure government facility where previous hearings have been held involving classified information, including hearings run by Republicans. PolitiFact points out that several Republicans were inside the hearings in October that the president's attorney referred to in his remarks. In all, 47 Republicans on 3 House committees have been able to participate in hearings inside the secure facility. Opening statements in the impeachment trial are scheduled to begin at 1 o'clock this afternoon. We'll have live coverage of those beginning of those arguments coming up after the news at noon today on RTV6. You can also watch coverage on the RTV6 Facebook page and also at theindychannel.com.
Every 10 years, the U.S. Census Bureau needs to get an accurate measure of what our country looks like, and this year they need your help. First, they say they need everyone to answer their questionnaire, but they also are looking to hire Hoosiers to help them take their measurements starting April 1st. Our Kelsey Anderson joins us live with all the details. Kelsey, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Meredith. So yeah, the U.S. Census Bureau, they say that it's important that you fill out this questionnaire and answer those questions because that's how they can tell what communities across the country need by knowing what those communities look like. So this year, the U.S. Census Bureau is hoping to have even more accurate numbers than years prior. They say they plan on using the internet as a way for people to self-respond. You can also fill out a paper questionnaire or respond over the phone. If you don't respond in any of those ways, that's when someone will be sent to your door to have you answer those questions. Regional Director Kathy Lacey with the U.S. Census Bureau says the process doesn't take long and is completely confidential.
Any information that we receive, whether electronically or whether in person, from respondents, those 9 questions, that's completely confidential. We like to think that we are the truth tellers of the nation. We actually show what this country looks like in that point of time, April 1st, 2020.
She says with the information they gather from the census, they're able to best decide where $675 billion in federal funding goes. Now, the U.S. Census Bureau is hiring Hoosiers, and they need to hire 3,000 people for their Indianapolis office. Those jobs include census takers and office personnel. The pay is between $22.50 and $25 an hour. For more information on this job and how you can apply, visit hiringhoosiers.com. Reporting live, Kelsey Anderson, RTV6.
Kelsey, thank you. Next on Good Morning Indiana, he says that sex crime victims need more help and more protection. So coming up, we'll show you how your state lawmakers are working on this critical issue.
A new virus first killing people in China, and now health officials say it's made its way to the United States. We'll show you what we know so far about the risk it could pose. The time right now is 6:39 on your Wednesday. We'll be right back after this short break.
Budget stretches further at Mattress Firm.
At 6:42, we are covering the State House this morning, and lawmakers are working on two bills related to sex crimes. First, Senator Frank Mervyn of Hammond says that universities and colleges are not doing enough to protect students from sexual violence, domestic violence, and stalking. He's introduced legislation to provide victims better support and educate them on their rights and options. It's an issue that Natalie Mendez says hits close to home for many students. She's a member of the Sigma Psi Zeta sorority at IUPUI, which hosts and participates in events that empower and support people who have been sexually assaulted.
You can ask anybody on our campus and they would probably say that they know one or two people, or if not more, that have been sexually assaulted, whether that was, on campus or before they have gotten to campus. At the end of the day, it still happens.
And we have more details on this. Senator Mervyn's bill would also require schools to designate confidential advisors that provide emergency and ongoing support to victims.
Also at the State House, a bill that would make it easier for survivors of child sex crimes to seek justice is headed to the full Senate. The proposal would create exceptions to the current statute of limitations on sex crimes against minors. Right now, a person can be prosecuted for those crimes only if the victim is currently under the age of 31. Exceptions include if new DNA evidence is discovered, if someone confesses, or if there is video or audio of the crime. Advocates for sex crime victims were hoping for more.
Under no circumstances should a victim have to box in their decision when and how to pursue the court system against the perpetrator of this most vile act. We are so excited that this bill is getting a hearing, but we do stand in partnership with the people up here to say that it's not exactly where we need it to be yet.
The bill was unanimously approved by a state Senate committee.
Coming up, a new virus has infected hundreds of people in China, and now it's inside the United States. Next, what you need to know about it and whether you could be at risk. Todd.
All right, as you walk out the door here this morning, you are walking out the temperatures that are really chilly across the area. We're going to be in the teens here through at least 8 a.m., but then the temperatures do moderate pretty quickly. It's a dry commute for you as well as we look ahead to the afternoon hours. Increasing clouds, but no precipitation today. That changes tomorrow. More on that coming up in just a few minutes.
Dream Mattress Studio at Value City Furniture.
Welcome back. Here's a look from our live drive vehicle monitoring your morning commute. This is on the near south side, I-65 northbound near Raymond Street. We do have an update for south side drivers that crashed near County Line Road that was slowing down traffic. All lanes have since reopened. Great news if you're heading into downtown, maybe from parts of Johnson County.
A virus impacting hundreds of people in China is now spreading around the globe, and that includes at least one person inside the U.S.
And so the CDC is now reporting that one man is in the hospital in Washington State near Seattle, and now two more U.S. major airports are set to screen passengers arriving from China because of the coronavirus. ABC's Kana Whitworth has more.
Tonight, the first confirmed U.S. case of that mysterious virus tracked here to Washington State. A man in his 30s diagnosed 5 days after returning home to Seattle from Wuhan, China.
Our number one priority is to complete the identification of all the patient's contacts, reach out to the contacts, and monitor their health.
Health officials report the patient did not visit that Wuhan fish and meat market, ground zero for the outbreak, where today teams were busy disinfecting the streets.
I think the risk to American citizens now is low. Part of the reason that this patient was so rapidly identified and treated appropriately is because he himself was educated and recognized the risk.
The man arrived in Seattle last week before the CDC began airport screenings. He started feeling sick and reached out to health officials. Experts now retracing his steps and expanding those airport screenings to include Chicago and Atlanta. Anyone traveling from Wuhan to the U.S. will have to enter through one of 5 U.S. airports. Around the world, a scramble to stop the virus, which is now spreading person to person. 6 people have died among the nearly 300 sickened in 5 countries. In Russia today, inspectors checking passengers on flights arriving from China, where millions are expected to travel during the Chinese New Year. The patient is described as being in satisfactory condition. Now, doctors will continue to monitor him and keep him in isolation for at least the next 48 hours. They're also monitoring any healthcare workers and patients who came into contact with him. Kana Whitworth, ABC News, Seattle.
Back here in Indianapolis, it is 6:49, and we want to get a check of our forecast with Todd. And Todd, the numbers behind you, I would say they're not bad compared to what we've had the past few days.
Yeah, they're pretty close to each other, and that's exactly what you want. You want either your forecast high to be above normal or right close to normal, and that's exactly where we are here for the day today with our forecast high right around 37 degrees. The past 3 days, we've been below normal, so it's a welcome change to get closer to that high temperature for this time of the month. 19 right now in Crawfordsville, as well as Bloomington, Indy at 19 as well. 13 is the current temperature over in Richmond, 22 in Muncie. Factor in a little bit of a breeze, and it feels like it's 11 right now in Indy. 14 is what it feels like as you make your way over into the Muncie area. I'm taking you south here to Florida. Look at these temperatures this morning down in the Sunshine State. Definitely what you don't want if you had planned a vacation to Florida. It's only 32 in Jacksonville right now. Tampa's at 37, and then 41 from West Palm down into the Miami area as you work your way into South Florida. So very, very chilly there. Throughout the day today, our temperatures will moderate fairly quickly. In fact, we're probably right around 30 degrees by the time we get to the noon hour, and that puts us close to where we were yesterday for our high, and then we'll continue to warm about 37 degrees. A little bit of sunshine during the morning hours. Once we get to the afternoon hours, though, the clouds will gather, and eventually we go overcast, but we are not expecting any precipitation throughout the day today. So skies are mainly clear across the area. To the east, to the west, the clouds starting to increase, and there is a pretty good storm off to our west, bringing snow to Kansas City. If your travel plans take you to Kansas City, I know there's some connecting flights there from the Indy airport. There may be some issues if you're driving in that direction. Just know you may run into some issues as well. But here we remain completely dry. That precipitation does not arrive in our area until tomorrow. So tomorrow morning, we start off a lot warmer. We're about 29 degrees for your 8 a.m. temperature tomorrow, 35 degrees with an overcast sky by the noon hour. Once we get to the 4 p.m. hour, we're looking at this point the chance of a spot shower, but a temperature of 42 degrees. It's not really till tomorrow evening after sunset that we watch this rain sneak in from south to north. And right now it looks like it's going to be mainly rain all the way into Friday morning. There could be a little bit of a wintry mix in northern locations. That's something we'll have to keep an eye on, but it looks like it's just going to be a hit or miss chance of maybe some freezing rain or some sleet moving in. So we'll keep an eye on it for you, but it's mainly a rain event throughout Friday, but it's going to rain throughout much of the day. It's not going to be very pleasant throughout the day on Friday, and then on the backside of that storm system, Saturday, we'll still deal with some rain showers and then a bit of a wintry mix. Again, no accumulation. And then to start next week, Sunday, all the way through the middle of next week, a little bit of a warming trend as we get closer to 50 degrees. Lauren?
All right, Todd, thanks so much. Let's take a look from our live drive vehicle right now out on the roads, showing you what you can expect as you head out there this Wednesday. Here's a look right now from our dash cam. We are traveling on the eastbound lanes of I-70, leaving downtown, heading towards Rural Street and Keystone Avenue. You can see it is smooth sailing around the metro area at this hour. No new crashes to report, so that is great news for your Wednesday morning commute.
A lot of talk about this one. Is one of the biggest award shows in the country rigged? Coming up today on Good Morning America, just in a few moments here on RTV6, explosive allegations made in a new lawsuit filed by the leader of the Grammy Awards less than a week after she was suspended. You have to see the story coming up on GMA after GMI right here on RTV6. Visit the Hiring Hoosiers job board. At 6:56, we begin now with some breaking news into the RTV6 newsroom. Fire crews on the scene of a fatal house fire. This developing right now on the 1600 block of Kildare Avenue. As you can see, the fire is out. Investigators are on the scene. This on the city's east side, Lauren, off of Emerson Avenue.
And what I want people to know is this residential street is about a block north of Cecina Memorial High School. So as they're doing this investigation, keep that in mind for your morning commute, or if your kids are heading to that school, there may be some traffic delays, so give yourself that extra time.
We will continue to follow that story throughout the morning, but we want to take a turn now. Meteorologist Todd Clausen joining us for one final time this morning. Cold temps out there, Todd, and some wet weather coming later in the week.
Yeah, tomorrow's when some rain arrives. Today, no threat of any rain in the forecast. That's the good news. Temperatures today starting off really, really cold. You need to bundle up. We're in the teens. Get up to 37 later on this afternoon for your high temperature. So that puts us near average. Tomorrow will be dry during the daytime hours, and then eventually we'll see more clouds throughout the afternoon, and eventually some rain will develop tomorrow evening. Friday's a pretty wet day for us, maybe with a little bit of a wintry mix to start, then a wintry mix on the backside of that system as well as it starts to move out. And then Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday pretty quiet with warmer temperatures finally back in the forecast.
Todd, thanks you for joining us. We'll be back in 25 minutes and throughout Good Morning America.
All your news throughout the day is on the RTV6 app.
We'll see you tomorrow morning. Good Morning America is next.